So, the calm before the storm. Trump is expected to later formally sign off on the release of all the Epstein emails, thousands and thousands of them. So, after this kind of semi-drought trickle of information, whoosh, the avalanche is about to thunder forth.
And a huge U-turn by Trump, who was blocking the release
for months and months
because he fears what will be in those documents about himself. But it's split his movement, the MAGA movement, the Make America Great Again movement.
Because originally he said he'd release the files, then he gets into office and says, actually, they're all a hoax. They're a Democrat hoax.
Right.
But he's changed his tune. And the question is going to be, who's in them?
Well, how much more is there going to be about Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, the former Prince Andrew? That's the worry for the royal family, for the country, because it's already devastating, his relationship with Virginia Giuffre, a woman he's not sure he ever met, paid £12 million to, stripped of everything, but the humiliation could continue. What if the file alleges there are more young women that he was associated with, slept with?
Can he be any more damaged, though? I mean,
I think if there is a suggestion there were more young women, I think that would be hugely damaging. And then the pressure will be, is he going to give evidence? The FBI would like him to give evidence. He said before, publicly, when he was still a member of the royal family, he would cooperate with the FBI. He hasn't.
The drip has been so damaging because because basically you had this billionaire paedophile and sex trafficker at the heart of a web, attracting powerful, important people. Ever since, because Peter Mandelson, who was our man in Washington, his job with this former prince, we saw him releasing emails, contact way beyond when he said he'd cut off relations, say, let's play again. And some of the language, and also his wife, Sarah Ferguson, her supreme friend. She'd denounced Epstein in public, but they're private, all cosy. There'll be other people, other very powerful people shaking in their boots today.
What is the legal position? Obviously, we have this current allegation against Andrew, which he denies, regarding Virginia Giuffre. As you say, who knows what's in the files? If the FBI, if the US Congress want to interview him, what is their power to do that?
They can't extradite him.
Right, but he can go voluntarily. And I wonder...
Or he could talk to them via... I don't think there's any way he's going to set foot in the United States in case he's banged up, put in jail.
Surely no lawyer is going to advise Andrew to testify.
But I wonder what the pressure would be on him.
Enormous.
Once a public request for him to go and talk to them.
He always says he'd do the right thing by his country. The right thing would be to talk to these prosecutors, to clear his name and to help tell the scale of this man's wrongdoing.
But no lawyer worth his salt is going to advise Andrew to testify.
He would run the risk of Congress formally requesting him to go.
Yes.
And then if that happens, you never know with Trump, he could be asked one of those questions on Air Force One where he's asked, do you think Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor
the King's brother
should come, and you never know whether he's going to answer yes or no. And he says yes, and the pressure builds. And there'll be more questions in Parliament now because he's not a royal. In the old tradition. And questions are usually ruled out of order about the royals, unless they're fawning all over them. But he's not royal now.
This is going to be a question at some point at Prime Minister's Questions. Somebody's going to say, he's going to ask Keir Starmer, should Andrew cooperate with... And is the Prime Minister really going to say no?
If evidence were to emerge in America, an allegation of criminality... by Andrew, then he could be extradited.
Yes.
And he no longer, I mean, as I understand it, and he no longer obviously has the carapace protection of his title.
No,
it's gone. He's just like us.
Yeah.
He's just a commoner now. So he doesn't have that extra layer of protection. And under those circumstances, if there was a legitimate request by America to extradite Andrew, he may, I mean, people like Andrew Lowney, who wrote the book, The Fall of the House of Windsor, is convinced this is going to happen.
He thinks he's going to end up
sooner or later Andrew's going to be on a plane to America.
Yeah.
He told me, he says Prince Andrew will end up his days in an American prison.
He thinks
there is an extradition.
Extraordinary.
There is an extradition treaty with the US. It tends to be one way, the UK to the US. They have greater protections for their citizens. But for instance, hackers have been extradited. People accused of financial misconduct, thieving money, have been extradited. Although, remember that poor boy was killed on his motorbike in East Anglia by a woman considered to be American spook, and then she left the country.
She was driving a car, wasn't she?
They couldn't get her back, I remember, in the extradition treaty. But if the FBI build up a case, I think it's probably unlikely this, but if they build up a case and they think he's really, really accused of wrongdoing, they could seek his extradition.
Extraordinary, because you're right. What happens in Prime Minister's questions, if the Prime Minister, who is a former Director of Public Prosecutions, former lawyer, what is he going to say in that situation?
No, I don't think he should help our number one ally on the world stage.
Well, you remember, he tried to the Prime Minister avoid answering any questions on Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, on Mr. Mountbatten-Windsor. And then the dam burst, and he said the whole sweetheart peppercorn rent deal on Royal Lodge, the 30-bedroom house, should be investigated by the Commons Public Accounts Committee.
And he said that the day after he'd had an audience with the King.
Yeah.
And it's inconceivable. We never know what's talked between King and Prime Minister, but that would have definitely surfaced.
Well, today's Wednesday. It's expected that Trump will sign this final document ratifying the release of all the Epstein emails later today, if not today, tomorrow. Do you think we'll start to see stuff popping up in the Sundays?
Yeah, I think so. There's been a drip, hasn't there? But then at some point there's going to be an avalanche. It's all gonna come.
Well, the Mail on Sunday has had some really extraordinary emails about Prince Andrew and Epstein, and I think perhaps that's going to continue. There's going to be literally hundreds of thousands of emails to go through.
Yeah, and I think it's also interviews that have been, I mean, with redacted names of victims, but interviews with some of the trafficked women.
Who may have made allegations about Prince Andrew.
Or, I mean, who knows who they've made allegations about, and who knows who else's names or details may be redacted.
I mean, Trump is trying to say that the Clintons are in trouble.
Which they probably are.
All sorts of people were associated with ghastly men.
Yeah, Larry Summers, a former minister in
finance secretary.
Finance secretary, an academic. He's had to step back from public life because he was named. And Larry Summers is somebody who often comes to Britain. But there was this web, and they all thought they were protected.
Yeah, I think didn't Trump's Attorney General say just because you're named doesn't mean you're guilty of a crime? So I just need to put that out there. There will be presumably hundreds, maybe thousands of names.
The press secretary has said that in these files somewhere, Virginia Giuffre has said that Trump did not behave inappropriately with the young girls.
Well, let's wait and see. But 2008 is kind of the cut-off date for association, because that's when he pleaded guilty to soliciting a minor for sex. And, that's when we knew he was a paedophile. You could claim ignorance as long as you weren't receiving young women from him. You could claim ignorance up to 2008. After that, you couldn't claim.
You knew he was a convicted paedophile. Yeah, and there was absolutely no need to have any connection with him.
Any social connection, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, what's China to us this morning? Is China our blessed trading partner? A golden shining path to riches and prosperity, or is it our sworn enemy? Well, how are we supposed to deal with China?
And are they spying on us?
Of course they are, but we spy on them.
For sure.
Well, everybody spies on everybody else.
Exactly.
That's a given, isn't it?
Exactly.
Except that MI5 has warned MPs and members of the House of Lords that they face a significant risk of espionage. And people will be thinking, well, hang on, wasn't there a case that was dropped over spying? And, you're alluding to the fact that, hang on, is China our economic friend or a spy state that's trying to undermine us?
Yeah, the government has to decide whether China is a challenge or a threat. And this government, this Labour government, like the last Conservative government, sees them as a challenge. So, yes, they're a great trading partner. We rely on them.
But they're a bit naughty.
And they are a challenge. Well, they're an emerging superpower, and you have to deal with them in that context.
Well, military defence staff have been told, and in fact there are stickers in their cars now saying, China could be eavesdropping on you. I mean, I would have thought if you work for the Ministry of Defence, you're probably aware all the time that someone might be eavesdropping on you. But it's in their cars, and it's because there is a fleet of electric cars. And are these electric cars in some way also fitted with listening devices?
directly connected to Beijing.
BYD, MG. See a lot of cars. I think BYD now sell more electric cars in the UK than Tesla.
It's leased hundreds of electric cars because the MOD wants to, oh my goodness, you couldn't make it up, reduce its carbon footprint and hit net zero targets. And some of these cars have been built by a Chinese-owned firm. And so concerns are raised the cars could contain microphones capable of recording sensitive conversations and transmit them to Beijing.
Can't we look for them? I mean, can't we sweep for microphones in cars?
I would have thought that the MOD should be capable of doing that with cars. You would hope they could...
if it's transmitting, there'll be a signal.
I think you've got to be careful, but you can also become super paranoid about this. Well, it's like, TikTok is Chinese-owned.
But also, you haven't used the word super. Are we going to allow the Chinese to build this super big embassy by the Tower of London, huge, the biggest embassy in Europe, because there's great concern that the basement will have these cables which will be capable of spying. And this is the Starmer, we think, has indicated to China the embassy will go ahead.
Of course it will.
Alicia Kearns, who's the chairman of
the Foreign Affairs.
Yeah, whose aide was accused of being associated spying for China. The case was dropped. She says this whole thing has to be stopped because the embassy will be a spy network.
Why are you so confident that it'll get the go-ahead?
Because the government won't want to fracture relations with China. And do you think there are no spooks in our embassy in Beijing with all monitoring devices and their own networks? Of course there are. I mean, look...
Why does China need such a big embassy?
Because it's
the site of the former Royal Mint.
It is. It's a kind of semi-derelict site. I know it well. I've often walked past it. And I can't see why you'd stop them, because otherwise you get tit for tat. And they're going to take action against us. Of course they're going to have spies in it. But the American embassy's full of spies. They spy on us.
But we're laughing about it, but presumably it's no joke if a foreign state is trying to undermine, sabotage the British state. But what I find remarkable this morning is that perhaps we don't need people spying on us because the Defence Committee has already told the world that Britain's not ready to defend itself from an attack. I mean, we're sort of open about our vulnerabilities. We don't need listening devices in MOD cars.
And this report is extraordinary because it looks at our missile capability, and of these 75 missiles we've got, only 19 of them work, apparently. I mean, so even the equipment we've got is
well, we've been overtaken by drone technology, haven't we? And I think that's one of the main points of the report.
Well, that was always an argument.
We are very vulnerable to a mass drone attack.
That was always the argument against wasting, as I would see it, £200 billion on 4 nuclear-powered submarines to launch nuclear missiles, that they're now, or they can get found by drones and far easier.
Apparently the country, according to the committee, has next to nothing when it comes to integrated air and missile defences and lacks a plan for defending the homeland and overseas territories. And they say that the government needs to get the country on board with understanding how important defence spending and defence is.
Well, part of our NATO commitment is we have to be able to resist an armed attack.
Article 3, defence obligations maintain and develop individual and collective capacity to resist armed attack. Because, of course, if we can't resist, we've got to call on NATO to help us.
Well, that's why we're part of NATO. It's collective defence.
But let everybody do it for us, then.
No, you do it collectively. You're stronger together. But, of course, one, nobody's about to attack us. And 2, we're one of the world's biggest defence spenders already.
But we spend it badly.
I think we're about the 6th biggest.
Is it one of the reasons, do you think, that a record number of Brits are leaving the country? This is extraordinary. And I wonder whether, Andrew, you think this has got anything to do with the Chancellor?
Yes, I do. Record numbers have left.
Of more than 250,000 British nationals in the year ending December 2024, more than 3 times the estimate of 77,000. Basically, tons of people leaving.
Yeah, and I
non-dom status, presumably, where people...
Hang on, there's not that many non-doms. Most of these people will be working in middle class. They're not super wealthy.
Yeah, no, I was saying partly non-doms.
Dubai?
Italy's very popular.
It's not big enough.
Italy's very popular.
Yeah.
But it's because we were when the Tories left power, we were at our most taxed we've been since the Second World War.
Yes.
Shocking. And then Rachel Reid whacked us with even more taxes, and people have...
Well, we've heard...
Nothing to do with tax. This has nothing to do with
tax.
Because of the time period. The time period is before really the Chancellor, isn't it?
No, the year ending December 2024.
A lot of people went...
Yeah, but you haven't...
came into power in July.
This budget is going to be in November, 11 months earlier. These people have already gone.
Proposals she brought in pretty much
There are not that many non-DOMs. We don't see the breakdown before we all get super excited. But I love it that if anyone's complaining about migrants in Britain, all these people are going to be migrants in other countries, unless, and these are the figures we don't get, unless they've got a heritage from another country and they're returning home.
Well, yes, these are British nationals, but...
but they could have dual nationality.
Yeah. But they're going legally, Kevin.
Yeah.
Talking of taxes, reports in the Eye this morning...
Almost all the people who come into Britain come in legally. Let's kill that myth now.
How many thousands are crossing the Channel are illegal? They're all illegal.
It's fewer
than... You don't think it matters?
It's fewer than a tenth of the legal net migration.
Too many.
Fewer than a tenth.
Too many.
Fewer than a tenth.
Too many.
Going to see a mansion tax next week? Because the Eye newspaper on the front page says we are. There was a drinks party, apparently, at number 11, and Reeves made it pretty clear that she was going ahead with it.
Apparently the drinks party was with 30 of her favourite Labour MPs. I'm surprised she got to that number, because her popularity is rock bottom.
So we've got the budget on the 26th, which is, around a week's time. Everything we've heard dripped out is then a few days later, we can't do that.
I know.
We've decided we can't have more people leaving. She was going to introduce an exit tax for wealthy individuals who, she was going to say, if you leave, you're going to pay extra tax on your assets. A lot of people thought, OK, let's have a look at leaving. And obviously, her advisors have said to her, it's going to cost us too much, presumably, if they do leave. So when if a mansion tax is proposed, you just can't trust, is that something that's going to be introduced or not?
It seems every other day they float an idea to test the reaction.
And then they realise you can't go against the manifesto.
We sat through that terrible speech here a few weeks ago where she was rolling the dice for a rising income tax. Then there was an interview about income tax. She did a press conference about income tax, and then she changed her mind.
If you're one of the lucky few to have a house worth more than $2 million, you might be able to avoid it by selling it in the next week, right? Otherwise, for most people don't live in houses worth than £2 million. We've got an outdated, in England, council tax system, which is based on 1991 prices. That was the last time
Kevin,
it was
you'd be surprised
how many people living...
Adjusted for inflation, obviously.
I know you're worried about having to pay it. Right, but you have people. You have people in Blackpool living in ordinary semis paying the same council tax as people in multi-million-pound properties in Knightsbridge.
There may well be a justification, Kevin. My point isn't about whether it's justified or not. My point is, we've just got tons of leaks of proposals. People are trying to do their financial planning. Up until a few days ago, everybody thought their income tax was going to go up. She's put the fear of God
into people. She's put the fear of God into people. There was also a strong suggestion that she was going to limit how much money people could take out of their pension. Currently, you could take 25%, tax-free. So a lot of people rushed to take the money out of their pension, and now they've said, we're not doing that after all. She's panicking people.
I think newspapers, though, which are very anti-Reeves, have got a role in that. I read the financial and the business and the personal financial pages. They're always coming up with these scares.
No, but Kevin, they're getting it from somewhere. They're not making it up.
Exactly. It's coming from the Treasury.
Yes.
It's coming from Reeves, who had a drinks party last night, and now we know the mansion tax is on the cards.
People, particularly in the South East, who are so-called property rich but cash poor, who actually couldn't afford to pay a mansion tax, a wealth tax on the property they'd have to sell.
Kevin doesn't care about them. I'm
sure. We can always find the old lady or the old man in which everybody else will shelter behind. But you can treat people like that if they can't afford to pay. You can come up with payment systems.
Well, one solution is that the tax isn't payable for 10 years.
Yeah.
You can defer it for 10 years, or you can defer it until you sell the property.
Yeah, I always like the ideas of charges on your estate when you die. I always think if we're going to solve the social care problem, and social care costs money, the fairest way I can see is we all pay you'll get free social care, but there's a charge on your estate. Now, if you're leaving next to nothing, you pay next to nothing.
This is the worst run-up to a budget in my lifetime.
Well,
I've never known anything like it.
Partly because they put such a late date on the budget, which left room for a vacuum of information and tons of leaks and briefings.
I think it's because she was waiting for the figures on how big the deficit is going to be, and she's been looking at all sorts of different ways of how you're going to fill it.
Clueless.
Can we talk about the fact that we found out yesterday, I'm a Celebrity, obviously, back on air, huge figures. Yeah. I'd said, jokingly, on the Laura Kuenssberg programme a few months ago, if the Prime Minister wanted to boost his popularity, perhaps he should go on I'm a Celebrity. I was surprised to hear yesterday Angela Rayner was in advanced talks to go on I'm a Celebrity this year. Absolutely remarkable. It was revealed by Richard Osman and Marina Hyde on their podcast, The Rest is Entertainment. Let's have a look.
Well, who else has gone on from politics? Nigel Farage.
He did very well.
Matt Hancock, of course.
Yeah.
Who else have we got?
Nadine
Boris
Dorris.
Johnson's... No, not Boris Johnson.
No,
Stanley Johnson. Nadine Dorris,
Nadine Dorris, yeah.
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 So
and she got into a lot of trouble over it because she didn't tell her...
She didn't tell the Conservative Party she was going.
But Nigel Farage did very well, so did Matt Hancock. But much better than people expected. I think Angela Rayner would probably have done quite well.
Oh, I think she would have
done really well.
Because she's, whatever you think of her, she's down to earth and she's good fun.
She also needs £40,000 to pay stamp duty to the HMRC, doesn't she?
But if she'd got... But I think if she'd gone in there, I think that would be the end of her serious long-term political...
Do you think so?
I think she would... I think
Hang on
she's
a moment.
a contender to be the next
Nigel
leader.
Farage went in there.
Well, that's true.
And now Reform are leading in the polls. So it didn't do anything
it did him a lot of
badly
good,
for him,
I disagree with you, Andrew. I think she'd do herself some good if she went in.
Maybe you're right.
Yep.
Well, maybe it's not too...
I wonder why...
Maybe she'll go in as a late entry.
Yeah.
Maybe now we've talked about it, she'll be watching and thinking,
maybe she didn't go in because she doesn't want to miss the Labour leadership contest. I can be round the corner.
Was it, do you think, part of an attempt to come back and pitch for Labour leader? Or do you think her advisers have said you would not now be able to pitch for Labour leader because you've been in the jungle chewing on, as Marina Hyde said, unmentionables?
I think it's that. I think they've advised her you are better at this point not going in. And she's on the comeback trail. There's no question.
Sure.
She's given interviews. She's making interventions.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll just see
discretion,
more
the better part of valour.
Yeah, but she'll have all her clothes on rather than sitting around a campfire.
And of course, it could have gone wrong. If she's gone, it could have gone wrong.
Yes.
And so there's a risk factor.
Yes.
It could have gone wrong. What if she got voted out first? That would look pretty bad for somebody who's got big ambitions to be Labour's first ever woman leader and first ever woman Prime Minister.
Yeah,
because she's on manoeuvres.
There's talk of a book.
Right.
But I'm waiting for the big interview in which she says, I made a mistake, it was an honest mistake, you know, the stress of bringing up a disabled child. And explain,
well, she's done that interview. She did that interview.
She'll do a broadcast
previously.
interview. She might do it with you, Susanna.
But she does.
Well, she's very welcome
I'm sure.
to do that.
Yeah.
But what you're suggesting is, and at the end of it, perhaps she leaves open the possibility that she now.
So she's biding her time.
Yeah. I think so. I think people are pretty forgiving if they think you're honest and they listen to you.
Can I just say, getting a lot of feedback to our conversation about Andrew. As I keep wanting to call him Prince, don't you?
It's decades of habits.
Muscle memory.
Andrea on Facebook says, if Andrew's done nothing, like he says, what's the problem?
Yeah.
If innocent, why wouldn't he want to go and clear his name? Robert on email, why are they only concentrating on Andrew? There are a lot of rich and powerful men and women, as well as TV personalities, going to Epstein Island. They would be happy to hang Andrew out to dry to protect themselves. We have a clip to show you, don't we?
We do have...
Dan Rivers, our reporter in America, has been speaking to one of the alleged victims, well, never mind alleged, a victim of Epstein who's come forward and is making comments about Andrew. Let's let her speak for herself.
Her name's Lisa Phillips.
So you're convinced that there are more women who were forced to have sex with Andrew, aside from Virginia Giuffre Roberts?
Yes. I'm not convinced, I know that.
Do you think he should face further repercussions for what happened?
Absolutely, yeah. I believe that we need answers. And I think once this comes to light. Maybe there's other survivors that will come forward, maybe not. But I do know that there are more than one that are out there. So,
with regard to Andrew?
I mean, that's what I believe, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That Giuffre is not the only one. That's the allegation. We ought to say we've obviously sought a response from Andrew on this. He continues to strenuously deny all allegations. He reached, of course, an out-of-court settlement with Virginia Giuffre in 2022, and that contained no admission of liability or apology.
But that's explosive.
It is.
That claim from Lisa Phillips.
Yes, absolutely.
But there were others.
Devastating. And that will put more pressure on him now to talk to the FBI.
Well, he's been proven not to have told the truth. And we saw that in the emails that came out, showed he was in contact with Epstein. Beyond the time he was.
That's the problem. Once he'd been caught out in what was a barefaced lie, that he hadn't seen any more of Epstein, had any more communication with Epstein, when in fact he'd been in detailed communications with him, swapping information about Giuffre, swapping information about her date of birth, her social security number, rumours that she was convicted of a felony in America, and then a few years later he's telling Newsnight that he has no memory of her.
And of course, still, did he ask his protection officer to investigate her background to smear her?
In this horrible scandal, and it was rich and powerful men preying on vulnerable young women. I think the scandal. I think we're just at the end of the beginning. It's not the beginning of the end yet. We're going to get all these names out, all this extra information.
I can imagine Lord Mandelson's feeling uncomfortable.
Well,
he's still got his title, of course, our former ambassador.
Yeah, they're going to fight. Why he's still up here beats me.